Whether in the United States or with its satellites like in Germany, everywhere still appears bourgeois. The smell of revolution is present in the atmosphere all around. And indeed, the way in which we can avoid all of this and yet emerge as victors of the turmoil today in this video. Subscribe to channel, turn on notifications, and share video right now.
Today is Mindset Sunday. Looking forward to it. Sure, there's lots of good things prepared. Let's start now.
What we have done at Investinbest, our mission is one thing, and that is we want to reconnect things, we want to connect people, we want to connect markets and the real economy, we want to reconnect mindset and skill set. Also in a period when everything is divided, we strive to swim against the current and re-establish connections. And indeed, particularly on Sundays, we make an effort to link points to facilitate the growth of knowledge, to construct a mindset for success that has the potential to guide everyone, including yourself, towards success. And in doing so, we must constantly make a few mental leaps, which is what our time demands of us. And one thing has struck us enormously in the past few years. And indeed, there have been numerous attempts in the past few years to greatly separate, divide, and fragment society. No matter whether it's terrorist attacks, financial and euro crises, or of course, refugee crises. Of course, the whole thing was then felt from 2019 in a COVID crisis, where the mask was a sign of division, the vaccination passport, armbands, and other symbols contributed to the fact that the division, the separation of society, also took on a face. Of course, one has to say, at the same time, more and more things have been banned in the last 20 years, such as natural parameters like black and white suddenly being considered racist, how clearly willingness to perform is an area of right-wing extremist culture, or of course, clearly biological factors like male and female, that the whole thing is not gender conforming. Yes, one is allowed to differentiate based on vaccination status, one is allowed to differentiate based on a conspiracy theorist opinion or a reliable source, the only source of truth. Differentiating between right on the Ukrainian side and wrong on the Russian side is crucial in this context. The answers are quite simple, but it becomes difficult, of course, when one should differentiate between man and woman because suddenly the boundaries blur. And the game makers, as I call them, have succeeded in a wonderful thing, the big elitist groups in the background, in the millennia-old game of power. You have achieved success in maintaining the scepter of power in your possession by implementing this separation. And they have achieved success in eliminating a natural point of reference, which is necessary for every being in and of itself, namely humans. No, it was not simply lifted, but rather replaced by other references. These references are presented through unnatural and perverted models of reference that we all receive and should orient ourselves to. For instance, if children in primary school and prior are no more permitted to orient themselves to inherent characteristics of male and female, but instead if their abilities are elucidated to them in a different manner. Yes, women should not have children all at once and preferably pursue a career. And if there are children, then get rid of them quickly, immediately to the daycare center so that the state can take care of them. Similarly, young men are expected to become washerwomen in order to prevent them from developing independent thoughts in any context as adult men. These are the artificial reference systems that we have all been presented with, which have been replaced by a natural reference system that is no longer in vogue. And one thing must be said, it has succeeded in putting a society into a disoriented frenzy, where one no longer knows who is man, who is woman, who is black, who is white, where is up, where is down, what is right and what is wrong. And naturally, this bewildered frenzy makes it extremely simple for populists on the right and populists on the left. Donald Trump, Viktor Orban, Meloni, Alice Weidel, Jordan Bardella rely on this recipe for revolt. The second group, naturally, consists of the grumbling and cackling mass who merely obediently follow behind like lemmings, similar to sheep in a herd. And that for the sole reason that they don't want to take responsibility, that they are afraid of responsibility and would rather disappear in a mass of justice and solidarity to avoid making any mistakes. Not to be held responsible at the end of the day for the type of world that will be left to a new generation and what it will entail. However, it is crucial to clearly state that, ultimately, each one of us will be accountable for the type of world we construct. At the end of the day, we will all be responsible for the world, the values we leave behind. And then one must say, these disoriented Poles who are looking for a strong man, a strong woman to stay correct, whom they want to follow, and the others who want to disappear in the mass of disorientation are two poles. And these two poles will be unleashed on each other when the elitist group of game makers in the background determines that it is the appropriate time to do so. And that on German streets, that on American streets, that yes, in all areas, including up to the own households, without any exceptions. And one thing we should already take away from it, and indeed there is a specific reason why we are born as either a man or a woman. There is a reason why we are born in a specific location in the world, and it is in that place where we can actively participate. As a man, as a woman, as a white individual, as a black individual, whatever our task is in accordance. But we can't hide in a crowd, and we can't blindly follow anyone either. We will not make a difference with that. We will only make a difference if we acknowledge what is. And at the end of the day, even celebrate what is. To be proud once again to be a man, a woman, and not to go in a defensive posture as a white man because one is supposed to drown in the guilt complex anyway. This is not the answer of a new time. This is not the answer of a confident, strong society. Because one thing must be clear to us. What do strong, successful, abundantly living societies historically and geographically have in common? And indeed, they clearly advocate for abundance and willingness to perform. You acknowledge what is and build on it. You recognize the resources you possess and subsequently utilize them with determination. Twisting references will not bring a solution. And ultimately, at the end of the day, and that leads us to the solution, we actually want something good and favorable for people. When values are alienated, such as the wonderful value of solidarity, one thing happens. We humans remember again that as a group, as a collective, we can achieve something together, and this realization empowers us to strive for a better future. And that is the reason why we place a high importance on values such as solidarity. If the creators of the game come and distort, manipulate these values, all of a sudden claiming that arms shipments, killings on Ukrainian battlegrounds, or on Russian territories are suddenly justified and injecting vaccines into each other's arms, spraying the sky, contaminating our food, our acts of solidarity and charity, then we understand that these values have been twisted, that this is not the true essence of this wonderful value of solidarity that we hold dear. Because one thing we can clearly say, the solution is right in front of our eyes and would be simple. And ultimately, we should leave behind these perverted, twisted reference systems and acknowledge and accept what truly is in front of us. Bring these real reference systems back into our lives. And very often we say we are multifaceted beings as humans. We are physical, social, mental, and spiritual beings. And a reference system is always something that we more or less see about ourselves. And that is the reason why our politicians, our media, our elite groups are so concerned about being above us. That's why they drive in state carriages with police protection, with powerful appearances, with fanfares from the media and everything that goes with it to show us that they are the powerful elite group, to demonstrate that they are superior to us, regardless of whether it is in ancient Egypt, through Rome and Greece, or in modern forms of government. And we must clearly state that this simply demonstrates that we are the point of reference for you. You have to subordinate yourselves more or less accordingly. How parents raise a child, and for children, parents are the first reference system, just as they want to pretend that our politicians, our media, and our elite groups become our reference system. However, the lie is there. This is the lie. The truth is we have reference systems. We simply have to look. As physical beings, we have natural reference systems that are given by nature, and that is once man and woman and otherwise nothing. We once again have mental reference systems such as enigmatic laws, which have frequently been cited, such as celestial laws, which invariably have application throughout time. But we also have social reference systems. We are allowed to choose who we surround ourselves with, which people we surround ourselves with, in which environment we expose ourselves, and thus what we make our reality. And yes, we also possess spiritual reference systems. We possess a spiritual reference system to which we can connect and from which we can also acquire knowledge and make the correct decisions on a daily basis. And one of these spiritual decisions may now be to actively listen, to deeply feel, to consciously choose the reference systems in one's life accordingly, to decisively decide accordingly, and then to fearlessly implement resolutely, courageously in action in order to bring about meaningful and transformative change. The year 2024 is a year of decision. A multitude of things will be decided during this pivotal year. Not at the ballot boxes, not on the battlefields, not in the finance ministries, and not in other groups that want to tell us that they will become our reference system. The outcome of 2024 will be determined by us. In the year 2024, it will be determined whether we desire to persist in allowing ourselves to be influenced by other populists from the right or the left. Whether we can make the decision to ultimately decline and say no thank you to other reference systems, such as the media, that deceive us by telling us things that are untrue for others, even though they are aware that these things are untrue and still present them. We recognize other reference systems given by nature, determined by cosmic, universal laws, yes, and also reference systems given by a divine, superior, spiritual, natural reference system. And in that sense, I can assure each and every one of you that anyone who wants to take this path will be part of a constructive process. He will be a part of a brand new world. He will not be subject to dissolution, not to division, and not to downfall, but he will be a part of this new world, which I can already see on the horizon very clearly and vividly. Do not forget one thing on this path. You are guided, protected, loved, and blessed on all paths of your life's journey. But you will make the decision. Go and shape yourself with determination.
Hannes, you did another great Sunday lecture today, and I wrote down two things which I think are really, really important, because you just said that, especially in this year, 2024, people will find the decision within themselves and chase each other, as you said, Hannes, or for example, guilt consciousness. And these two things are exactly the problem in our society today. One continues to split. One eventually lets go of the right and left, and here it is our task, and that's why we also make these videos here, to somehow prevent you from becoming a part of the people who understand it and don't chase each other, but maybe the aspect of sharing, that you will be the ones who share the whole thing, bring it positively into the world, and not let themselves be divided and guilty conscience. Let's be honest, whoever feels guilty can never come into power, come into creative power, and will perish in the dissolving process. So shift focus from media-induced guilt consciousness, but definitely prioritize growth and resist being confined to a small mindset. From the sense, Hannes, it was an amazing Sunday video. Thank you. This video must be shared now, because we can only spread this message if you don't share it. So now share this video with all your friends on all channels. Give this video a thumbs up and be part of the Investing Best journey for the next years.
In that sense, share videos, subscribe, ring the bell. Thank you all and have a nice Sunday. Goodbye.